Welcome to Make More Marbles. My name is Brad Hart, and we're here to interview the game changers, the future makers, the co-collaborators and creators who are here to collaborate with one another towards a better future for all of us. Enjoy the show. We've got a great guest coming up for you right now. Just jumping it. Welcome to Make More Marbles. My name is Brad Hart, and today I am freaking stoked to have Sammy Skelly, Scale Dog Samwise Sandwich on the show. What's up, Sammy?
If that's not the introduction of the friggin' year, I don't know what is.
2018. Gotta kick it off right. Love it. I am so stoked to have you on the show. Sam runs a community of women called Hungry for Happiness. Hungry for Happiness helps people to just get over their stuff around eating and eat better and feel better about it in their bodies. And you're just helping so many wonderful people in the world. And it's not just Sam, but everybody in this community is doing something amazing in the world. Where we live in Cardiff, Encinitas, that kind of area, it attracts this level of superhero that's never been seen before in my life. And I kind of look at it as like, all right, we have all these superheroes running around doing their superhero stuff, and they've all got really cool journeys, and they've all got really cool superpowers, but nobody's like come in like Nick Fury and be like, listen up, everybody, you're Avengers now. What's up? So I want to be the Nick Fury of Encinitas or Cardiff, wherever the hell I live, and start bringing people together under one roof to be like, okay, this is our mission out into the world. Even though it might not look, the same in everyone's business, I think that's a really important thing because we can affect so many more people together than we could just working on our own little stuff, which would be fine. We'll all be successful, but we could do so much more.
Well, it's so interesting. It's like when people ask me the question of like, why did you move to Encinitas specifically? And the end, like it's not, there was nothing logical. Like it wasn't like, oh, because of this, that, and the other. It was like, there's this energy, there's this pull, there's this reason why I'm here. And I truly feel like over the last year, I've been in a incubator in the sense of like everything in my life has up leveled because of being here, because of being in this community, my business, my personal life, my financial life, like literally everything. I've just been like, whoop. It's like giving it like a serious upgrade. And I credit this community, I credit this land, I credit the energy in this space of like, we're all in this, doing this epic, all of these epic missions together individually, but so collectively as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's like you get here and this place triggers the crap out of you for about 6 months. It brings up all your stuff, right? All your stuff, all your demons, and you can't escape it because everybody's everywhere, knows everybody. So you got to deal with it.
So, you just put words to what I was feeling. I definitely felt there was like, yeah, you just put words to it. It's like when it felt like a wedgie the first little while I was here. I'm like, why is everyone in my shit? And why does everyone want to cuddle with me? And then after that, I'm like, this is amazing. I'm totally enrolled. But yeah.
Right. Yeah, it takes a minute. It's a long sales pitch, but it gets you. Or you leave, and that's okay too.
Sales pitch.
But okay, so Sam, let's talk about practical and tactical. We can geek out about Encinitas all day long. I really love it here. But what are some of the things, like kind of give people a journey so far, your heroine's journey, if you will,
cool.
of the Samwise, Skelwich, Scale Dog,
Samwise, Skelwich. Everyone's like, what's your actual name and why do people call you Sandwich? And I'm like, that's a story for another time. But anyway.
It's a story for right now. It's on the podcast.
Okay, fine. I'll tell it right now. So the reason why everyone and their dog calls me Sandwich is because my mom's maiden name was Wedge. So if she didn't get married, my name would be Sandwich, which is, I think this is really cool. And we didn't really figure that out until like years and years and years. And so this one time we were all up in Joshua Tree and I like told this story, but I told the story like, I just told it with like every ounce of energy in me and like everyone died laughing. And from then on in, my name has been Sandwich. And so now it's like a Sandwich Scale Dog, it just extended. But going back to like who I am and why I'm here and what I'm doing with this mission is it's really birthed out of like many things that we pursue in our lives and many things that we're deeply passionate about. It's really pursued and motivated by by my story and by my struggle. And so when I was younger, I was a child actress. So I was either on a stage, I was either in front of the camera auditioning. I was constantly being like judged, but I didn't like perceive it as that when I was younger because I was like, this is just what I do. I'm just dance and I just act and people judge me and yada, yada, yada. And when I stopped acting and dancing, I felt like my significance was ripped away from me. I'm like, I no longer am known as an actress, a dancer, all that kind of stuff. So then I developed a super unhealthy relationship to food in the sense of I could not eat like a normal person. I was on and off diets like crazy. Always trying to find my significance in my body type rather than finding it in my soul, which I had no idea at the time. And so that went on for years and years and years. At the same time, I started my first company, which was a personal training company. And I was living in England and just felt completely out of alignment. On one end, I was like, hey, this is how you be healthy. And then behind the scenes, I was just like super unhealthy and in a total fight with myself and my body. Yeah, totally. It's like, I was never anorexic or bulimic, but I was in that like diet binge cycle, in the sense of like, I would diet like a mofo for like weeks and weeks and weeks. And then when I couldn't handle it anymore, I would binge, and then I would eat everything that I felt deprived from. And that went on for years. And so I had this like moment of like, I need to make a change. Something needs to give, because this is just not healthy. And so I ended up getting deported from England because I overstayed my visa, moved back to Vancouver, spent the next 3.5 years working on my relationship to food and to my body. And then I was like, you know what? The weight loss industry is really messed up. There's a lot of people putting Band-Aids on bullet wounds, and it's truly about the emotionality, not about the diet and exercise and pills and shakes and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to lead a mission to where people think weight loss, they think hungry for happiness, emotions, versus what diet can I go on? And so now we're here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Is that how that goes?
And it kind of mirrors a lot of conversations we have around sales and marketing. Really, that's leadership and helping people make great decisions for them, and knowing that people make emotional decisions first before any logic comes into play. So really what you just described is very much like that. It's like, okay, we know we should eat well. We know how to eat well, and we know how to exercise. Most people can find that information really easily. Where the trick is how can you emotionally get to a point of mastery where you can actually have those habits consistently that will consistently allow you to make great choices, even when the entire world is trying to pump in and out down your throat, which is delicious, by the way. And I always eat it when I first get back to the country. But that's my little habit, my little rule, my little dirty secret. Nah, my precious, give me in and out. But it's knowing that you can do that every once in a while, provided you have the habits that allow you to take care of your body at all other times, in a way that allows you to, make good emotional decisions in the moment when you're tired or hungry or depressed or not feeling well. And ideally gain enough momentum through those habits where you feel, hey, okay, cool, I got a pretty good handle on this, and I can color inside the lines for the most part. And I have a why that's bigger than just my eating stuff,
Yeah, that's it. I think when we get into behavioral change in any realm without actually the emotionality behind it and the why behind it, it's a very quick fix. It's not sustainable, right? Like I can stop drinking coffee for, whatever, a couple weeks, but unless I have a deeper why as to why I'm doing that, it's going to be, I'm going to start drinking coffee the next week. Right. So it's like with my life right now, the decisions that I make and the shifts that I make sure that they're very intentional and they have a deep emotional connection as to why I'm doing that, because then it just becomes easy. Then it just becomes life's a game. But when we're white knuckling and we're trying to make change based on behavioral change or based on like when I get there, then kind of thing, then it's like you're already shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. So just understanding this life cycle of how people make decisions, how people make habits, why their habits or access to information might be faulty, and what to change and where to go. That's where you really live. It's like understanding I've been there, I get it, and I can help you from A to B. I've been there myself. And that's why people resonate with you. Also, you're a giant bundle of energy who loves tacos.
And am I energetic? Am I?
Just a wee bit. And I love the coffee analogy because I have given up so many things in life. I gave up smoking when I was 18. I gave up drinking when I was 26.
You gave up drinking? I didn't know you didn't drink.
Yeah, I don't drink. I started drinking when I was 11. I got really heavy when I was 14.
11.
Yeah. And then I gave it up when I was 26 for about a year and a half. It started as like a 30-day challenge. And then I did 18 months, went back to it for 2 weeks, destroyed my life again very quickly. It was like, no, you're not supposed to be drinking. Okay, got it. Wow. And then I was off for like another 2 years, and I've been back on it like in little bits, like, oh, I think I can have a glass of wine. No, I can't, and just now owning the fact that I'm not a drinker and it's okay. But yeah, my dad died from it. My grandfather was an alcoholic.
Oh, wow.
My grandma was an alcoholic until she died in 97. My friend in college, yeah, a lot of trauma around alcohol. So I had to really just get clear with myself that it's not for everybody. And I'm one of those, I'm not everybody. So, I have a similar story, and funny, crazy thing is, I made a video with Frank, my head of sales, about 3 years ago now. I was living in Santa Monica, about our journeys, because he also quit and he struggled in the past. And we just kind of talked about it in a very reasonable way. Like, we don't think you're bad or broken or wrong, but here's what our experience has been. And that video went crazy. It got viewed, tens of thousands of times, maybe a couple 100,000 times. I don't even know. I haven't looked in a long time. But the emails and the comments that just kept coming in, like thousands of people ended up quitting drinking. And that's not even what I was looking to do in the world.
Wow.
Really exciting.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So if I had never had that conversation with myself, if I had never had that coach say, hey, you should reestablish your relationship with alcohol, take 30 days off. If I had never, had all these traumatic experiences in my life and talked about it in that way, I would have never made that impact on the world. I wasn't even really like setting out to do that.
But that's when things really catch on, is like when we're not like, this is going to be this, but it's just, we're naturally sharing from a place of authenticity and our story. Like, this world is starving for stories, and for them to listen to your story and go, I see myself in Brad, I'm going to make a change. Like, that's huge, dude. Good for you, man. That's awesome. That's so cool.
So thank you. Yeah. And I didn't say that to brag or to impress, but to impress upon people listening that your story matters. The way you tell it matters. What you've gone through matters. And there are tons of people out there crying and begging for leadership. And leadership isn't about creating more followers. It's about creating more leaders. So how can you give people the tools to lead? And then doing so, create a world of leaders as opposed to a world of, everybody's a victim and everything's horrible. Well, if something's in the wrong, you look at the world and say, hey, somebody should do something about that. You got to look in the mirror and say, well, aren't you somebody? Aren't you somebody? Are you somebody, Sammy Sam?
Yeah, Sammy Sam. Sammy Sam, I love how you're in my old room right now. It makes me feel like at home.
So Sam used to live, this is my office now, and I have a bedroom next door, but Sam used to live in this house, and it was in this room. Depending on who you ask, it was either like a day or a month or a year. I don't know. But it was an amount of time. It was an amount of time.
I can't remember how long it was. It wasn't for very long, but I had some good times in that bedroom. We'll leave it
right
there.
On. So have I. So have I. I'll give you a tour. I'll just move the camera out. We got like, Buddha reminds me to chill out. That's the most of what I need. That's why it's the biggest one. Casey Neistat reminds me to work harder. And then I've got a little tiny giraffe up there that says, hey, have more fun.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Is that a massage table?
Oh, yeah. You know how I roll. I got a futon for shooting. I got a
futon for shooting.
Futon for shooting. Sure shooting futon.
You mean a futon, right?
Yes. Maybe in Canada they call it a futon, but here in America,
that's not true. That's not true. You guys are always trying to screw me over.
we have a game in our friend circle where we try to get Sam to believe that we have a specific way to say things. It's entirely not true.
That's just how we say it here. It's like, you guys are just trying to make me sound like, get out of here.
I love it. All right. So we could talk about inside jokes all day long, but let's get clear and practical and tactile for people who may be struggling with some of the things we're talking about. Like, we had Cam Adair on the show, for example. He gave some really great tips and just understandings around frameworks around addiction, whether it would be video game addiction or alcohol addiction or any type of addiction. For example, unhealthy patterns with food. What are your top maybe 3 to 5 things that if you had a microphone that you could whisper in the ear of everybody in the world, what would you want them to know?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I talk about all the time is this whole concept of like acceptance and honesty. And I put out a video a few weeks ago called The Negative Side of Body Positivity. And it was basically talking about how the body positivity movement to some extent is flawed. Now, that's not to say the whole thing should not exist. I think the intentionality behind it should very much exist, but the consumption of it is a little bit distorted in the fact of we can't go from hating our bodies for 30 years and then seeing a meme on Instagram and going, okay, I'm going to love my body. Like, that's just not possible without the tools. And so we have to actually accept the fact that we hate our bodies where we're at. We have to accept and love the part of us, furthermore, that hates our body. We have to love the part of us that is in a fight with food and fully accept where we're at. Because the only way we're going to create traction to have transformation is when we step out of denial and we get real with what is. And I think anything at all, if we want transformation with anything, we have to be clear on where we're at and fully accept and love the position that we're in. That can be a journey, but we cannot bypass all of that work in order to achieve transformation. So I think that for a lot of people is, we love to lie to ourselves. We love to be in denial, right? We love to look at things like, especially, right, you and I are both marketers, right? And so we see this a lot. It's like we want to polish turds. We want to make things look a little bit more shiny than they are, right? Like my Instagram feed by any is no indication of like what my life's like on a day-to-day basis, right? But it's like marketing. It's like, and we all do this. And so what we need to be like is like, get the screens away, get everything away, and let's just have a come to Jesus moment with ourselves and go, where am I at right now? Am I truly happy with my relationship to food? Am I truly happy with my relationship to my body, or my relationship, or my financial situation? Like, can I just look at it with like clear eyes and just look at where I'm at? And until we get to that place, transformation is incredibly difficult. And this is why as well dieting is such a flawed way of creating transformation, is because number one, we're taking action from a place of fear. We don't want to admit where we're at. We don't want to admit what it took to get there. We don't want to admit how we feel in our body in that place. So we take action out of fear. We deny where we're at. We sever the part of us that is trying to have a voice, and we just run into a direction that we don't even know either. Like we don't actually know where we want and how we want to feel when we get there. And so with that whole world of like dieting and exercising and hating our bodies, it's like we have to have complete acceptance of where we're at, step out of a place of denial, and get incredibly clear. I'm like, all right, so it's not that I want to lose 20 pounds. It's like, what is the feeling that I think that is going to give me? And furthermore, what is the benefit of that feeling, of me totally embodying that feeling? How is my life going to change? And so when we're just dieting or wanting to lose weight, it's like that's a very surface level thing. And in order to create sustainable transformation, we need to go into these deeper layers.
I love that, Sam. And you can tell you've thought many, many years and cycles about this. And the mastery comes from understanding not just the things to do, but the frameworks around what people believe and think that allow them to subtly shift their perception about what needs to happen. Right. And that's leadership. What you just described right now is leadership, is understanding, I know where you're at. I get it. I was there. Now, here are the things that you most likely believe in order to have this reality that you currently occupy, right? Because our values shape our beliefs, shape our thoughts, shape our words, shape our actions, become the habits that shape our reality. So if you don't like your reality, you got to go back to what you're valuing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then based on those values, all right, now we know where to look. We know where to dig. What are the things that we're valuing that are moving us further or closer or further away from our desired reality? And to be able to look back and look at that from a real, compassionate, empathetic perspective in your own life, and then to transmute that to ultimately your clients and your community, it just takes another level of distinction and service. So I want to just say how grateful I am that you shared that. But additionally, I think I want to drill into a few things that I guess people that, if I'm assuming what my audience is wanting to hear, how does this relate to them? Let's say, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an investor, I'm a philanthropist, I'm somebody who wants to generate, grow, give money, whatever it is in this Make More Marbles community. I want to do that through collaboration. Yeah. How is getting out of my own way in the realm of eating going to allow me to do that further, better, faster, stronger, the $6 million man, the whole deal?
So I love this question so much. And I think as I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs, I mentor a lot of specifically social impact entrepreneurs who have ideas and things like that. And they always want the tangible. They always want Sam, teach me how you built $1 million company. Sam, teach me how you have this funnel. Teach me how you have this marketing strategy. What's your best sales strategy? And I always bring it back to like what needs to emerge through you and what is real for you right now and what's really going on the mental emotional. I too wanted to bypass this place and just make money and make impact and go. But everything that we do is, if we really want it to create traction in our lives, we have to get real about the place that it's coming from, and we have to get into our bodies. And so the reason why this is so important is because when we are in a fight with food, when we're in a fight with our body, if there's something that we hate about ourselves, if we're judging ourselves for this, that, the other, we are going against the self. We're being self-violent, right? And this whole practice of being self-violent is only going to, like, the threads of self-sabotage are going to come up. So you're going to get to a certain point of success, and because you haven't dealt with that demon that you chose to ignore right out of the gate, it's going to sabotage. You're going to be back before you started. So it's so important to just, before we do anything, to just get really, really clear on like, what is it that I need to work on internally first before I do anything? And because I know when I've taken action out of fear, or taken action out of a place of like just trying to get ahead or trying to get something done, it's always crumbled. When I'm so clear about like my alignment, I'm like, is this coming from a place of alignment? Is this coming from my highest self? Is this in the best, is what I do going to serve the most amount of people? And it's coming from a super genuine place. That's when everything's created, given traction. And so it's so important for people when they are starting their businesses, they do want to up-level their life. Always bring it back to the self. Everything comes down to you. There's crazy stats. I don't know what the stats are now, but what is it, like 90% of businesses fail in the first 3 years? Something like that, right?
In the first 5 years. It's
in the
like
first 5 years.
The longer you play, the more likely you are to die.
Right. And it's like, I firmly believe that is not a strategy issue. That is not this person doesn't know how to sell. That is not a product issue. That comes down to the entrepreneur, to the leader of that mission, not being integrated, not being grounded, not knowing themselves, and trying to skip steps and not learn the personal spiritual development side of it. That is my belief, because I've seen that happen so many times. And I tell entrepreneurs, go back to the drawing board, go back to yourself. Like, let's get back into your body. And when they do that, then they start to see traction.
Yeah, I actually had a great conversation with an Uber driver yesterday. He was like, "Hey, did you hear somebody won $600 billion or $1 million in the Powerball?" I'm like, "That sounds awful for them." What do you mean? He's like, "Well, you're presuming that all problems are money problems? Because guess what? Having all your money sorted out is just the beginning. Now you're going to have a whole nother class of problems, the people that you know, the things that you don't know, and very quickly you're going to be on a path to ruin. So that's actually probably the worst thing that could happen to somebody, is having that much wealth come into their life that they didn't earn." Because that's now they have so many tools to harm themselves and others, and they don't have the capacity to really generate or grow or give wealth and know how to do that in an effective way. Like, that could be the worst thing that ever happened to that person.
Absolutely.
It's going to kill their entire social circle. It's going to kill their whole family life. I know it happened to me on a very small scale. When I was 24, my dad died and left me a bunch of money, and it was totally unexpected. And my family, we didn't get along after that. It just didn't, it was the glue that was holding everything together. And I didn't know that until he passed away suddenly. And all of a sudden I inherited a lot of money, and I wasn't equipped to handle it. And it wasn't a lot, like $500 million, but it was like $1 million worth of stuff, and that was a lot to me, because I was, building my wealth and doing my thing on my own track, and based on what I believed I should be able to have and my worthiness story at the time. And I made some good decisions, but mostly I made a lot of horrible, terrible decisions. And the worst part was I had nobody to go to that I trusted well enough to really say, hey, this is what's up. So that inner work is so important, because even if you do come into a lot of money, even if you do come into accidentally finding the right strategy, the right mindset is what produces the right strategy. But the right strategy with the wrong mindset, I can give you the best strategy from Apple, Google, Sam's company, my company. If you don't have the mindset, the consistency, and the habits to implement it, and the leadership skills to get leverage to help other people come and align with that mission, you might as well have not had it at all. It's never going to work.
For sure. And I think people listening to this right now, they're like, okay, cool, Sam, that's really great. And how the heck do I figure that out? And I think it becomes this question of like, are you questioning everything that you believe? Are you really getting clear on like I'm ruthless with like how, like I'm like almost like obsessive in the sense of like, if I do something, I'm like, do I truly believe that? Is that my mom's belief? Is that my dad's belief? Is that society's belief? Or is that my belief? And the way I figure that out is like, when I think about that belief, do I feel expansive in my body, or is it contracted, right? That is my cue for everything. It's like, I bring it back to the body. When I'm trying to figure out my truth, I bring it back to the body. So if there's a business decision that I'm working on and I'm like, got my pros and cons list, I've overanalyzed the out of the thing and I still can't figure it out, bring it back to my body. What does that feel like in my body? Is that a yes or a no? And I've stopped giving reasons as to why it's a yes or a no. If it's a no, I'm just like, hey, that's not for me.
Yeah.
That's not for me. I don't need to, because half the time, I don't even know why my body's telling me no. It's just a no. Right.
And you don't know until later why that was.
Yeah. It's like,
you end up finding out down the road, like, oh, that's why it wasn't for me. Got it.
Oh, that's why I shouldn't have.
That's why I was encountering so much resistance, is because the universe wanted to give me this instead. And this is
totally.
And not allowing myself to hurt myself. It's like you're running around scissors and the universe is like, hey, stop running around scissors. And you're like, but I want to run around with scissors. What's the problem? It's like you're going to fall and hurt yourself, but you don't know any of that until you just trust your gut. And there's actually science behind this, guys. We've proven that your gut, your body, or whatever you want to call it, this physical being that you have has so many more senses than the things that we think or understand or think we know subconsciously, consciously. And it makes 10,000 calculations in that moment to give you the gut answer of, this feels weird, bro. You should probably check in with that. If you ignore all that, 250,000 years of evolution and DNA figuring it out so it could survive. If you ignore all that, do it at your own peril.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Like I trust my body and my intuition more than I do my mind. Cause there's some crazy, like my mind is so busy all the time and it's giving me a million different narratives. And it's like, if I was to figure it out on the logic level, I would be spinning my wheels all day long. But I'm like, let me drop into my body. Let me take a minute and like really feel this out. And then I'll get the answer and I'll just go with it. And then I'm like, let's figure out why this was a good answer. Let's figure out why, I made this decision. And the evidence of that good decision may not come until months, weeks, years later.
Yeah. And it's another layer to think about is Barry Goldstein wrote this great book called The Paradox of Choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about making the right decision at any given time. We're never going to have all the answers. We're never going to have all the information. In fact, the more we consider, the more upset we're going to be ultimately with the choice that we ultimately make, right? So he says, don't consider a million decisions. Consider 3 options at any given time. Choose your best option, right? Because 1 is not an option, or 1 is not a choice. It's a mandate. 2 is a dilemma. Should I, shouldn't I? 3 is like, okay, I'm going to pick the best of these 3 and no more. Ideally, get some recommendations on those 3 if it's something complex or you don't have the skill set, and just make the decision to move on, and then make the next decision. You're trying to make enough decisions so that enough of them work out over time.
Yeah.
Where you win more than you lose. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And your gut is just is as valuable a tool as any.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when we separate how can I phrase this in the right way? When we sever the connection between our worth and our output, then we set ourselves free. And what I mean by that, I'll break that down, is like my worth was so tied to my accomplishments and my accolades and how well my business did and yada, 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 that I was so afraid to make mistakes because I thought it was a direct reflection on my worth. Now, when I severed that and I realized there are 2 completely different things, and like what I do or not do is not dependent or contingent upon how worthy I am or not am, and I completely separated them, I was like, oh wow, I can exist in this world and I can totally make mistakes, and it does not mean that I'm a fundamentally flawed person. And I think as early entrepreneurs, it's like, it's so important. It's like, it's everything. If I fail, then what's going to happen is going to mean something about me. It only means what we make it mean, right?
That's beautiful. And really, we're just meaning-making machines.
Meaning-making machines.
Stories become us. And if it's an empowering story, we become empowered. And if it's a disempowering story, we become disempowered. And if you could just check in with yourself and just remove yourself from the story for just a minute, just to be able to say, hey, is this serving me? Is this helping anybody? Or am I just in a black hole of despair right now, with whether it be food or business or anything? Like, guys, human stuff, it's not like people have food problems. It's not that people have eating problems. It's not that people have business problems. They have life problems that show up in their food and their eating and their business. So as soon as you can get hip to that and just grok that and understand it, you can be like, oh, okay, well, what do I need to work on in order to make all these other things just effortlessly fall in the line?
Yeah. I think I've realized like 2017, like I said, was like a super intense year for me, and I got in my own way a lot. And 2018, I'm just
give me examples of how you failed. It's so fun.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. So a lot of my failures this year, and don't get me wrong, like one of our values in the company is fail forward. Like we have meetings where we're like, hey, what'd you fail on? Because it's like, if my employees are not failing, it means we're not moving forward. But like, man, I failed hard this year in so many ways. Like, and I celebrate that because I'm learning. So I hired someone who I think maybe you would have met them, maybe not, who was exactly like me. We were identical. Right. And I'm like, I like this person. She's just like me. I'm going to hire her. So I took her on as my director of operations, and it totally failed because she wanted to be in the spotlight. She wanted to be the face of the brand. She wanted all these things. And so she was resenting me because deep down it's what she wanted to do. And I had to get to a point where I was like, yo, listen, like I love you. And like, there's not space for this here. Like there isn't, like as much as Hungry for Happiness is growing and becoming its own thing, it is still a personal brand, and it is still very attached to me. And so they're hiring for me was like I made some huge mistakes in hiring this year. And that's okay. It was like, it made me realize like some of the people that need to be in the seats of my company are not necessarily the people that I'm going to hang out with on a Friday night, because we're just so fundamentally different. Maybe because culturally it's a fit, values wise they're a fit, but they're not similar to me, and that's okay. And so in that realm of hiring, I was like, I really had to do a lot of work. I realized as well, I am a fantastic leader and a shitty manager. I can't manage people to save my life. Like I'm either micromanaging the shit of everyone or I'm completely hands off. Like I've struggled to find that balance and I don't want it. Right. So I hired someone to manage the entire team, which has been brilliant. But just, yeah, so many lessons like that this year.
Welcome back, gang. I had to swap out my headphones. And Sammy was talking about how she's failed this year. And one of the ways which she failed was she was the star of the show, which she's a star, total star. She talks about ideas to people. It's all she really should be doing. And she hired somebody just like her. Thinking, oh, I really like this person. She's just like me. It's going to be great to have her in the company. But now this person's the smoldering star, right? This person's the resentful star. The person that unfortunately wants to be Sam, and there's only one Sam in this show. So unfortunately it wasn't going to work, and she had to let that go. And that's okay. They could still hang out and have tacos on Tuesday nights, but they can't be in the same role in the same company at the same time. That's okay. What was the other way you failed that you talked about?
Gosh, well, what was the other example that I gave? Just with management. Like I'm just I'm like a great leader, a terrible manager. So and I tried to be a manager when I'm not a manager, and I got myself in the weeds. I got frustrated. I was getting super angry, and I'm like, okay, I got to get out of this. And I need to hire a director of operations to be able to like help manage, because it's not my strong suit. I want to lead. I want to be the visionary, of course. I want to be out of the weeds. So
you need a really strong integrator, to use the rocket fuel methodology.
Yeah, I read that book not so long ago.
It's really good. And I actually geek out on wealth dynamics and the star personality. That's one of 8 types of entrepreneurial types. And the stars need like that deal maker or agent to kind of like manage the flow, because they're creating all this ideas, people, all this attention. That's you 100%. I can tell right now. And then they need that deal maker, but they also need that lord type, the person you never hang out with at the party. You never go and get tacos with this person, but they can run your business. And as long as you have the checks and balances in place and allow them to do that, because where stars go wrong is they get the great deal maker or the great lord, but the lord and the deal maker are crooked and they're not really actually playing fair. Like Tony Robbins is a great example of this. Tony Robbins originally had a company where he basically just hired 2 guys to go and run his business for him. He said, okay, I'm going to go out and be on the road and I'm going to do my Tony Robbins thing. It's all going to be great and it'll all work out. Unfortunately, came back to $750,000 in debt and thought he'd have to bankrupt the company. Because even though he's making millions, it's all going right back out the door. People were stealing. It wasn't clear. There weren't checks and balances. So there's 2 things you can never outsource. And this is a great lesson to take away, is the marketing, right? The message that you're putting out into the world, and the checkbook. As a business owner, that's the 2 things you never really completely let go of. Even when you have a CFO, like you need checks and balances.
Yeah.
So nobody can do anything that, in a point, let's say somebody got their family kidnapped, or somebody, even if they had the highest moral integrity, when people are distressed and hurt, they hurt other people and other organizations. It's just what happens. So I think that's a really important distinction, is like, as a star, being that star, allowing yourself to be that star, but then having those checks and balances in your business to make sure that, the resources aren't misallocated or the people are not taken care of. And that's your responsibility. It's your name on the door. So
dude, that's it.
So Sammy, what would you really love to create in this world? Like, let's kind of zoom out a year from now, 5 years from now. What is it that you're moving towards? What's exciting on the horizon for you?
Oh, so what feels like really active for me right now is through like being in this industry for so many years, through my own development, like I was listening to Tony Robbins tapes at 12 years old with my dad, like I've been immersed into this world for a long, long, long time. And I'm just in the personal development world. I'm seeing a lot of holes in it. I'm seeing a lot of like ways the industry is actually disempowering people versus empowering people. And so what I'm so excited about creating, and the shift that I'm creating, is first and foremost, the amalgamation between like weight loss is emotions and not diets. Like that is like a huge, huge message that like I want to emerge through Hungry for Happiness, and we're doing a really good job doing it. So it's just it's just like there's more time. Like, it's such an interesting thing, because a lot of the women that I talk to, who come into our funnel through various ways. And we talk about like the whole like emotional piece of weight. They're like, I don't get it. What do you mean? What do you mean my emotions have to do with my weight? And I'm like, yeah, exactly. So it's not a mainstream conversation, right? So my whole mission is it's two-part. Revolutionize the weight loss industry by helping people look at the emotional weight that they're carrying, that the physical weight is representing. So that's like a huge, huge piece of it. Like I want to be like the Weight Watchers of like the next, age. And then shifting the personal development industry to get rid of this whole notion of like that there's a there. Like, when am I going to get there? Hey, Sam, am I there yet? When am I going to get there? And so my next book that's coming out is called Am I There Yet? Why Self-Help Isn't Helping. And it's talking about like why we're marketing that like what people want is outside of themselves, which is not true.
I love that.
It's all like, we're there. We're all there. We just need to untangle and unblock all of it that is preventing us from fully being who we are at the core. Because at the core, every single one of us are beings of light and love. That's literally all we are. We're just tangled in these like this false beliefs and these stories and all this kind of stuff that is preventing us from truly landing in our souls.
I love that. And the lie of personal development, I've done enough of it to know, is that there's always something wrong. Yeah. At the core of it, the reason that industry continues to persist, and it does help people. It's helped me. It's helped you. But it keeps going. People get addicted to personal development, and it's because they always feel like, oh, if I just do this, if I just become an NLP trainer, if I just become this, if I become that, instead of just being more of who they are and just accepting that this is who I am. Yes, I'm broken, but in these really cool ways that now are also my superpowers, that I can bring to the world. Like, I know I have a huge issue with belonging. I know it. It comes up all the time, and it'll probably never go away. But
can we talk about it?
Yeah. And at the same time, I've connected so well with so many people all around the world that I've been able to create the communities and do the things and have the impact that I want to have.
I struggle with that too.
Yeah. Let's jam on belonging for a few minutes. Absolutely.
It's so interesting.
How did your belonging story start? When I was 6 years old, I went out to play with the older kids, and they lined me up against the wall and kicked me in the nuts as hard as they could for until adults came and figured it out. When I was 8 years old, I still wasn't great at making friends. So I spent every single day at recess on the swings, praying and hoping and wishing one day I would have friends all over the world. That's not true. So that 5-year-old kid, 6-year-old kid got his wish, or 8-year-old kid, or what the heck it was. Yeah. When I was 16 or so, I got into some crazy thing with the gang in my neighborhood, and we beat up somebody, and that got back to people at my other school. So it was like a weird kind of dichotomy, like, between my home life and my school life, private school versus crazy neighborhood with skinhead gangs and all the nonsense that comes along with that, and drugs and alcohol. So getting involved in their stuff to belong kept me from belonging with the people who I really wanted to belong with over here, because they associated me with that, and it was my fault, and I accept responsibility for that. And I'm no longer beating myself up for it. It took me a long time to admit that I was wrong, but that also created a lot of belonging issues, because guess what? Nobody wanted to be my friend.
So interesting. It's like we just crave connection and belonging so much. I think that's why a lot of us find ourselves in this community, because there is a enhanced, it's like we can feel like we belong here.
Yeah. So how has belonging showed up in your life? Where does that stem from you? Because you strike me as somebody not the same, but similar in you're wanting to connect with some people, and some people don't get it. Some people are like cats and dogs people. I'm a dog person. You're a dog person. We're like,
yeah.
And cat people like,
right.
They don't want anything to do with us. And we have to be like, whew, okay, got it.
Yeah. It's so interesting, because when I think back on my childhood, there's a few, so mine was like in dance, right? So like I was really wanting to be in one dance class, and I couldn't be in that dance class yet because I wasn't good enough to be in that dance class yet. And so I was like, guys, I want to be in that dance class, and I wasn't allowed to be in that, right? So there was that. And then like the popular girls at school, I'm like, I want to hang out with the popular girls at school. Like, why am I not a popular girl yet? And so it was always this like, so then I would end up like lone wolfing and just being like, okay, well, I'm just going to hang out on my own. And it's so funny because so there's like threads of that still exist. And even though in my reality today, it's so not an issue at all. It's like I have an abundance of belonging, community, and all that kind of stuff. But it's like the little girl in me still fears that she's not going to belong one day. Right. It's so interesting. And it's a lot of our mutual friends have like recently gotten into relationships. Right. And so it's like, oh no. What if they leave? What if they go away? Oh my God, what's going to happen? Everyone's going to get married.
What if they have babies? I'm never going to see them again. And oh my God, I don't have a relationship. And what's wrong with me? And
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So
I'm really hip
interesting,
to
right?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hip to it. I'm hip to that. Yeah, dude. So it's belonging is such an interesting thing, right? And I think here's the beautiful thing as well. It's like I'm clear and I know like the more I feel at home in my own body, the more my external dependency for belonging becomes non-existent.
Mm. And it's really difficult, I've noticed in this community, to take the time to drop in with people.
Mm,
As much as we all say, oh, we're going to drop in. No, we're not.
mm,
That doesn't actually happen.
mm. That's
We
true.
numb ourselves out or cuddle or whatever the hell we do, and no actual connection is being made, which is one of the reasons I love actually interviewing the people. Like, if I just saw you and we hadn't had tacos, we wouldn't have had this conversation. I want to learn all these things about you. I come away knowing more about you with this hour. Just, we're dialed in. This is all we got going on in the world, and we can serve more people in our communities by doing it.
Yeah.
It's just leverage on leverage on leverage, and it's depth on depth on depth.
Absolutely.
So I'm
Absolutely.
just grateful for that experience with you, Sam, and thank you for being who you are in the world. I always knew you were rad, but I didn't know why exactly, and now I kind of understand. You know, it's you have a similar path and journey that I have had, and I just want to acknowledge you. I want to say how grateful I am for you, and I want to continue to support you in whatever way I can. And one of the ways I can do that right now, here and now, is on the Make More Morals podcast. We believe in collaboration over competition. We believe in connecting people to the resources, the opportunities, the people, and the systems that they need to move their mission forward faster. So some of the things you talked about were your book upcoming, your bigger journey to be, you know, the weight loss, Weight Watchers, next big movement around emotions versus logic and eating. What are some of the ways that you know, because you know your business better than anybody, that we can do that for you? Anybody listening, myself, team, anybody.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is my whole mission again is to like really revolutionize the weight loss industry. And so the best way of doing that is through a program called the Society, which is our 6-month group coaching program. And I've designed it in a way where I'm super clear, like transformation occurs when intimacy, connection, and support are like at its highest. And so I've created an environment where women feel seen, supported, loved, and acknowledged for like the journey that they're on. And so, yeah, we're like, come hang out with us. Come check us out. We're Hungry for Happiness pretty much everywhere on the internet.
I love it. Hungryforhappiness.com. Sammy, if somebody wants to get in touch with you specifically, how do they do that? Are you open to connections with people in the community?
I'll give you my phone number. I'm just kidding.
I don't recommend that. Carrier pigeons, smoke signals, Pony Express riders, people give out emails, people give out social handles. Like.
Yeah, so I'm very active on Instagram. So it's at Samantha Skelly is my personal Instagram, and I love writing poetry, and I love sharing my thoughts through poetry on the internet, and so I do that on that Instagram. So I answer all of my direct messages myself, and so if you have any questions about anything, feel free to hit me up on there.
Right on. That's at SAMANTHASKELLY. And that's how you get in touch with Sammy Skell Dog. The Skell Witch. I love it. Awesome. We're going to have to grab tacos again soon. Thank you so much for being just an incredible firebrand, a bundle of energy, supporter, and a creator of the ultimate magnitude out there in the world. And I know that even if we have very different missions in the world, that you're out there doing it right, and you're one of the Avengers, whether you like it or not. You're in the club now.
Woohoo! I'm in.
Love it. Marble makers, making marbles.
I so appreciate this. It's been such a fun conversation.
Awesome. Thanks so much for listening to the Make More Marbles podcast. For more tips, hacks, and strategies to create an amazing, abundant life in your health, wealth, and relationships, whatever that means to you, head on over to makemoremarbles.com. Check out our cool explainer video about what we're about, and join our community of entrepreneurial game changers. We want to help you level up your life in every possible way. And don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and please do leave a review. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next podcast.